Chris Myles has recently put out a video with his 7 tips for new bloggers. And I wanted to give my insights on the 7 advice that he gives here. So let's have a look.
This video is all about blogging tips that new bloggers need to know about. What's up, bloggers? This is Chris from the Blogger Evolution Podcast. So my number 7 tip is to be fed up. So what I mean by being fed up is I want you to be tired of the situation that you're currently in. Because if you don't make a move to do anything, you're probably going to stay in that exact same position that you're in right now.
That is really good advice, I think, because you would need some energy to get through some of the tougher parts of blogging. And it's not as easy as some of the ads here on YouTube might make it seem. I wasn't fed up, I had to say. I started blogging because of interest and as a hobby. And it took me a while before I got to any meaningful income, just because I didn't look at it as a business. And I maybe have reached that point earlier if I was fed up with my situation. But you don't have to be. I have a day job on part-time. I'm a veterinarian and I love it. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love the pets, I love the owners, I love the brain work as well. So that is not something I'm going to give up anytime soon. Maybe I was a bit fed up with working 5 days a week from 8 till 5 and not seeing my kids. So maybe that counts.
My number 6 tip is to stop wasting time. Now, I get it when you're first getting started. Sometimes it's difficult to know what things are going to move the needle in your business and what things will not.
Okay, I completely agree with this. I've spent so much time on choosing the right color scheme, picking the right theme, then picking another theme and picking a third theme, and then changing the whole thing up and never getting to write anything. I've also spent way too much time doing keyword research, filling 20 different spreadsheets up with 700 keywords ideas, and I never typed a single word on an article. So if I have to say something, then just write something. That might be the best use of your time. If you have to do keyword research, pick 10 keywords and then start writing something. If you really have to get a logo, spend $5 on that on Fiverr and no more. You can have an ugly logo, just a vector, something, or maybe a drawing one of your kids made. Just put something up. You can always change that later. It's said, and whether this is true or not, I don't know, but it's said that 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. And that seems reasonable, I think. And the rest of the time, the rest of the 80% of the time you spend is then wasted somewhat. But when you are a new blogger, you need to try something out and you need to do something that eventually will fail. And that is not a waste of time. Maybe you don't have to fail as much as I have, but focusing on actually doing work is a good advice.
The number 5 tip is to stay inspired with success stories. So because there's this time period that you have to create content where very few people are going to see it and you just seemingly are creating this content for yourself, you need to be able to see the goal ahead of you.
There definitely is an anoxic period where you're writing the first maybe 50 articles and you don't see any results. And when you're a beginner, you have no clue if that is because you did it wrong or you just have to wait for Google to wake up. And staying inspired is difficult. If you have a brain sort of like mine, this staying inspired part also have a flip side, where I read too many books, listen to too many podcasts, and get so many ideas I get shiny object syndrome and I just start 20 different stuff without ever finishing any of them. So this comes in moderation, I would say.
The number 4 tip is to please respect the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule can be applied in various different ways, but the way I want you to apply it here is when it comes to creating your content, you need to stop being a perfectionist.
I agree so much with this. What I usually do is I make the article decent enough to put on my blog and I put it there. And then I make a note to go back and check it after, let's say, 4, 5, 6 months. And I look in analytics and Google Search Console and see what keywords Google have selected for my article. And then I optimize the article further. So the first half year, people are not really going to see your article anyways. So that might be 100, 200 people seeing your article. And in comparison with maybe 500,000 in the lifetime of a good article, it's not very many. So only a small percentage will see the crappy first draft. And if you're not willing to put out a crappy first draft, you will not get anywhere. So I completely agree with Chris's advice here.
My number 3 tip is to develop a set process and stick to it. So even though we've already established that the most important thing that you can do with your blog is to continue creating content, that content, you need to systematize it, get it into a way that it doesn't take much thinking on your part to be able to sit down and start writing.
Well, this has been a big one for me. Actually creating a process and documenting a process I use every day, and I do basically every day, seem to me to be stupid. But sitting down and actually writing just in bullet points what I was doing, I was typing in there and I was putting that keyword there and I was adding this image there and so forth. I found that I was jumping around from one service to another and then back to the first one. And writing the whole thing down, I could maybe take about half of the steps out and do things more streamlined. Even though I don't have to document the process for me to remember it, it really cleaned up my work. And when I'm getting shiny object syndrome, I stop myself and I think through what would be my process to do this new, very exciting project. And most of the time, I don't really have a process in mind, and if I sit down and I outline how the process is going to flow, then suddenly all the reality of a new shiny object is kicking in, and I can more thoroughly evaluate if this is a good project or not. So thinking through the process and writing everything down is a good exercise to do.
The number 2 thing is to don't be scared. There is a real thing out there about being scared about succeeding and wondering, well, what am I going to do if this actually works? Don't worry about that. Just go ahead and continue the process.
What I've been most scared about is actually rejection. So actually reaching out to people and asking for help has been the biggest one for me. But this failure of success is a very real thing. I guess you get worried if you actually succeed. What would that make me? What sort of person would that make me? That would maybe make me a different person from what I am now, and that seems scary. And then you get scared not for the success, but what the success will do to you. But remember, if you squeeze an orange, no matter when you squeeze it and how you squeeze it, there will always come orange juice out, and you will always be the same person. There's obviously way more to the advice that Chris's go through here, and I would advise you to go and look at his video because this is very solid advice. And I will save the number 1 for his video, so if you want that, go check his channel out. See you in the next video.